Hey everyone, we're live. Sorry, I have a thing to blocking my thing that says whether or not we're live. A pop-up showed up on the screen, so I couldn't tell if we were live yet. How's everyone doing today? Rush, you got something to say, and I actually have something. It's funny, what you're going to say, I think, has a little bit of something that I was thinking about saying before the show. So go ahead, you start.
Okay. I mean, the only thing I'm going to say is it's funny because one of the byproducts of having too many baseball playoff games is that they have 2 or 3 day games now, which I love.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
like, to me, day baseball is magical. It's always been magical. There's nothing better than going to a ball game during the day, especially even a playoff game. That means you're not working. That means you're having fun. So it's a great thing, and you could literally channel surf. If one game is getting out of hand, you can go to the next one, and so like every hour and a half, you can go to another game. So I'm really enjoying it.
I'm never working, so no, but
I can
yeah,
vouch
no,
for
I like the afternoon baseball game. I think yeah, especially when sorry folks, when the Blue Jays lose, I enjoy it.
I
But
always remember if you were a Blue Jays hater or Blue Jays lover, and I can never quite put it together. You're a Blue Jays hater. Obviously, I know you're a Yankees lover, but you also hate the Blue
I'm a
Jays.
Yankees fan, so and invariably I hate the Blue Jays. So especially when like Blue Jays fans hate the Yankees, especially because it's sort of the opposite Leaf effect. When the Yankees are in Toronto, the Skydome, now Rogers Center, gets invaded by a ton of Yankee fans who live in Western New York. So you get 20, 30,000 Yankee fans invading their state. So I don't blame them for hating them, but envy is a terrible thing. Just to answer Andrew in the chat, I did not see Peter Gabriel. Russ did.
I was typing it in there.
I didn't see it. I have too much crap going on, but I really wanted to. Obviously, seen it many times.
Unlike the Genesis show from last year, Peter Gabriel still has it.
How was it, Russ? Was it good?
No, it was really good. I mean, his new album is interesting because he's really got a perspective on the planet and what's going on.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that's deep, man. If you want to talk about like performers that are just kind of glitzy and showy and don't have much substance, you're not talking about Peter Gabriel. This guy's going deep into world problems, animal problems, all kinds of stuff. I give him great credit for that. A lot of the songs on the new album are good. I mean, I would say of the 6 or 7 he played, like 4 of them were really good.
I like I a lot. I think I was great. I think he's a great song.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't hear was
Games Without Frontiers.
Huh?
Games
Without Frontiers is the only thing I didn't get to hear that I wanted to hear, but everything else I heard, and it was great, and the lighting was great. Like, it was a really updated show with, there's no pyrotechnics, but it really had good symmetry to it. Really a great show.
See, the thing is, it's like the ticket prices were a little steep here. They're high. And like the last day, like some of the ticket prices went down to a reasonable amount, but they were like the ones that were like you were at 30,000 feet. That's how he would have been that big. And I really, if I'm going to see him, I want to see him like I did 30 years ago when he played at the University of Buffalo Alumni Arena, which happened to be the last time that he did the crowd surf. Which there's a story behind it. He used to crowd surf all the time when he toured, and that was the last time he did it because apparently at that show when he crowd surfed, somebody grabbed a certain area of his anatomy, and he was quickly scooped up by security and brought back on stage, and he never crowd surfed again. So Buffalo, thanks, you ruined it for everybody.
The kid that was gutsy with him and Levin and his band was. They had a table, and they just sat at the table and played like the first 3 songs like acoustically.
That's cool.
And that's so you did get a chance to see him closer if you further away like I was. But I mean, at that age to do that, singing like that.
No,
he's impressive, man. I really am mad that I didn't see it. I really am because you never know.
Now,
but can I add something to the afternoon baseball thing for a second? So
yeah.
But I want to, and this might be what you're going to get into, Mike. Actually, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry to interrupt you. You start.
Oh, okay. I'll stick with the music thing quickly here, and then we'll go to baseball because I have something on baseball too. Tonight at the arena here in Buffalo, Stevie Nicks is playing. And this is, I guess, her final tour. Now, the weird thing is, Stevie Nicks was here. I'm pretty sure it may not have been the last time. She may have come here in between. I know that Fleetwood Mac did, but she was here when I was a sophomore in high school. So that's 1983. So it was 40 years ago. And I had front row seats for that show. And believe me, for a growing adolescent young man, having Stevie Nicks in a white dress with backlighting was an education in and of itself. It was great. Now, obviously, the visage has changed now that she's in her 70s, but she still can sing. I was tempted to go, but I'll just live with the memory of a white dress and backlighting.
Yeah. There's a Fleetwood Mac song that my wife's fallen in love with lately. So Springside, is that what's it? Shoot.
Silver Springs.
Silver Springs, yeah. She loves that song. She always loved the song, but she's in this mode where she just plays it all the time right now. And
about Fleetwood Mac, you're going to get a similar Hall & Oates kind of.
Oh, stop, please!
I'm just telling you.
I saw Hall & Oates with the backlight thing when I was. I'm just kidding. All right, so
Fleetwood Mac is one of the most overplayed bands ever on the radio, which didn't help me ingratiate me to the band.
They were overplayed, Russ, but they were great. They were over, but it's like Rumors could be the almost.
Right, but what did they win? 15 Grammys for Rumors. What about the rest of their stuff, Mike?
Well, Tusk is a good album. The Fleetwood.
Is that what he grunts when he's playing?
But none of you guys opened for him. I opened for them, so hey, come on.
Yeah, Tusk is that when he does the 20-minute drum solo, Mick Fleetwood is grunting?
The self-titled album that was before Rumors with Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks is a really good album. So is Rumors is fantastic. Tusk is good. I think the dance. There's a couple other. So they're not just
one. Not as many as you think after Rumors.
It's not like Boston where it's one friggin' album.
No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, but anyway, go ahead. Go ahead.
They were really funny to open for. They were really cool. And anyway, but let's talk about Tampa. I want to talk about the Tampa game last night in baseball and the limited amount of crowd there.
Yeah, 19,000.
19,000 for a baseball game. And I looked it up, and the first playoff game by Tampa Bay Lightning this year outdrew that. Right, or not this year, but last year, right? And so think about this for a second. Like a southern city in the U.S., baseball is huge in Florida, just huge in Florida. But it's kind of got the same problem that hockey has in Minnesota, where it's so big on so many levels that the pro game sort of loses a little bit in Florida, I think. And I think that's possible. It feels like, you can throw a baseball literally and hit the Yankees and Phillies, spring training places from Tampa. But to think about for a second that a hockey team in the South is outdrawing a baseball team, it's really pretty incredible. That's a pretty amazing thing, honestly. When we talk about hockey in the South, the Bucks are definitely the biggest team, and the Bucks are definitely the biggest team in that city. Obviously, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the second biggest team is the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Well, and you can't use the argument that the Rays are not successful because they've been a very successful team. I mean, the problem is that the fan base down there, it's a Yankees fan base. That's where their spring training is. There are more Yankees fans in Tampa than there are Rays fans, in spite of the fact.
Also because it's a city where people from Florida are forced to go when they retire. So, and people from New York are forced to go to Florida when they retire. That's the law. So, around that area. It's the old Seinfeld joke, that parents move to Florida because it's the law, and it's true. And that's that area, and that is what is weird with Florida, and that's stuff like that. But I definitely feel like it's interesting how baseball, there's a lot of baseball players in the pros. So correct me if I'm wrong, that are from Florida. That's
a lot that live in Florida because of the no tax. That's why.
No, but I mean that kids that grow up in Florida that play baseball.
Well, it's sunny all the time. That's why.
Right. So, and it also comes to my thing about baseball that it is the kind of sport that you want. That you're celebrating summer in. To me, it's when you're up here in the Northeast and it's you want to go out to sit at a baseball game. A big part of that is
82 degrees out. It's 82 degrees out.
Well,
I know, but that's because the sun's melting our solar system quickly away. But no, but I think that this is I agree.
But here's the thing that's laughable, Here's the thing that's laughable. They broke a record. It was 1919, the 1919 World Series. And which, it was probably late in the series when people knew that the series was being thrown. So that was the low attendance record that they broke. I was looking this up. They're building a new stadium, Russ, in St. Petersburg, a 30,000 seat stadium. Now, Florida is doing the same friggin' thing that they did with the Marlins. They built a brand new stadium for a failing franchise, and what happened? It's a friggin' white elephant. It's a failure, and this is going to be a failure.
I can't tell you it's going to do any better, but I'll give it a little chance only because this is the worst stadium in any sport that they plays in.
I've been there, yeah.
So maybe it'll help, but to be fair, I've been to the Marlins Stadium, and it's bad. It's not a great place.
But the Marlins even have a different kind of crowd than the Devil Rays, because the Marlins, even though they're both areas, of course, are big, southern, migratory places for the elderly. It's there's no question that in Florida you also have like a big Cuban population who are just Florida Marlins fans. They're like baseball fans, and they're in they didn't grow up anything else. They didn't grow up fans of of the Yankees or the Red Sox or what have you. So yeah, it's interesting. But let's move on to hockey.
Yeah,
I want to just say that I'm just never thought I'd see the day that the NHL would have a more.
No, it's a good thing
in the South than Major League Baseball, like in the same city. That's pretty incredible. All right, ready? Here we go. It's October, guys. Holy hell. All right. Hello, Hockey World. It's Wednesday, October 4th, 2023.
I'm Michael Agello, and go Twins.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology, and Miami ranked 29th in attendance, and Tampa 27th.
Here we go. And I'm Meckland. You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com, the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday. Well, every night we go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but we're going to be going to this week. We're going Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Who knows? Soon we're going to be going full time again. We'll be back. But as the season enters with any luck at all, and we are thrilled to be talking to you guys. There's a fly that keeps flying around me. Sorry about that. I'm batting out of midair. And I am definitely. I did want to mention this. I'm sorry, Russ. This is again not hockey related, but this whole Aaron Rodgers thing just kind of got to me for a second. Yeah. But we'll talk about that maybe another time.
You mean how he magically somebody laid hands on his Achilles tendon, and he's magically healed after 2 weeks when it normally takes 6 weeks to get out of the boot.
But how he said that he would be ready in January. Like if they get to January, there's no way in hell he should be playing. Like in my mind, like, right? Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, I don't disagree. But the only thing I'll say is he's rehabbing 5 hours a day.
No, listen.
He's got all the top everything that he could use. He went to a guy that is used to sort of being different in the way they do these operations and everything. So maybe he said, I could do it this way, and there's a chance I could cut off 2 months in the rehab. I mean, it's possible.
Great. I mean, that's great for him and everything like that. But just the idea, like the guts to say I could be back in January, implying that I should be the quarterback if we get to the Super Bowl. I don't know.
That's what's going to happen though. It's like, what would you do if Patrick Waugh were net and he blew out his knee and he was coming back from knee surgery 3 weeks beforehand.
And Andre Red Light Rasico is in net for the half.
Yeah.
A little different, Russ, because
you're going to say, hey, Doug, good job. You'll be a future executive somewhere in the NHL. Your goaltending's okay. But Patrick, you're back in.
Well, it's a little different because the Jets are so bad. And for the Jets to actually have been so bad, for the Jets to actually go to a Super Bowl, I don't care if your quarterback is me or you. Like, if we take them to the Super Bowl, you cannot go against the sports gods and pull that guy. That's just to me. It's just like
you're under a premise that is not going to exist because Zach is not going to lead them to the playoffs. Their defense is great, but Zach is a terrible quarterback.
He's not terrible. He's just
okay.
I don't know really where he is. He's not terrible. He's not great.
Right.
But if they get there, he's had to have been pretty good. Like, that's my thing. Like, I'm not saying it was terribly great.
This is the old Bledsoe Brady argument. Bledsoe got hurt. Brady came in. Brady got them to the AFC Championship game. Then he got hurt. Bledsoe came in. They won that game, and then Brady was the quarterback in the Super Bowl.
But it can also be the Lindros coming back for the New Jersey Devils series. There's other levels to that too, where I don't know.
The role of Scott Stevens.
Guys who are healthy should come to your best player, but suddenly people start watching them and looking away, and the Flyers didn't play a good game in that game because he was back. Anyway, let's talk about
Rodgers. So Rodgers has to come back with like a game or two left really in the regular season, to be honest.
He would have to. Now, if he did that, Russ, I'm okay. But that actually, but the
Hockey.
January, they used just the term January. That, I mean, I know
No,
football
I know.
runs later.
I get it.
That's the playoffs. There's no way that's not the playoffs, right? So
Let's talk.
anyway, let's talk Connor Bedard, because so far what we've seen with him has been really great, and it's been fun to watch. He played, I think, this afternoon. Did they play this afternoon even?
Yeah, they were playing this afternoon.
Yeah.
I don't know if he played in that game or not, but he played last night. Or I think
he scored an empty net goal.
An empty net goal. He hasn't scored. That was the first goal, which is kind of interesting. But what people have been talking about, like, and I talked to I talked to a player out there in Chicago. They're like, he said to me literally, like, this guy is an incredible playmaker. Like, he said to me, you have no idea, like, you have to have your stick down all the time. He's like, you have no idea how he's going to find you. And he doesn't even look like he even knows you're on the ice, and suddenly the puck's on your stick. Like, it's just incredible.
He draws everybody to him. When he draws everybody to him, he knows how to dish it off to you. He sees that opening.
He's got magician eyes. He can see all around him, and it's like, and he's not even looking at players that, it's like, there's no way he could. This one guy said to me, "There's no way he could have known I was on the ice," and suddenly the puck's on my stick. It's just like, there's no way he couldn't. There were 3 players between us. I just jumped off the bench. He's like, and then suddenly, bam, it's right there.
Yeah,
that's impressive, and. So my thought process went to, of course, making a quick early judgment.
This is where you forced me into. Is he better than this guy?
This is where you lost me, Ak. This is where I'm ready to go.
I know, you're ready to go.
Nagasaki on you.
Right now, me. All right, there are 5. This is every number in of itself. There's 5 superstars there's 4 superstars in the league, and there's 4 superstar forwards. All right, I'm going to kill McCarr. I'm going to put on his other level. 4 superstar forwards. All right, my 4 super forwards are McDavid, Crosby, Jack Hughes, and Austin Matthews. Those are my 4 superstars.
Jack Hughes. And the thing is, it's like, okay, all of these guys are number 1 overall picks, but you missed one, which is Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah,
I thought about I love McKinnon. I think McKinnon's an outstanding player. I think at times he's one of the best too, but I don't for some reason quite put him in that level. Like, I don't know. It's my head. Maybe I'm right. Let's throw him in there. Let's put him in there for the hell of it, because most people will agree with you and not me. So let's say there's 5 of them. Okay, there's 5 superstars.
Okay.
And when they all came into the league, we can debate this on 2 levels. Like right now, who the best one is right now, But what I'm trying to debate on is when they entered the league, who did you think would be the best of them? Like Crosby's first game, McDavid's first game, Bedard's first game, that kind of thing.
Okay, it's tough. It's tough to top 4 goals in your first.
Matthews obviously had an unbelievable first game, right?
Yeah, I mean,
but also, I still thought we all thought Matthews was great, but I didn't think Matthews was going to score 4 goals a game.
Okay, in terms of living up to the hype immediately, I think McDavid is number 1. I mean, Crosby, I think, is the best on the list. Crosby's, but it took him a few years to get to the Cup final. I think it was 3 years to get to the Cup final, 4 years to win a Cup.
Yeah.
He won 3 Cups. He's a no doubt Hall of Fame.
Every freaking thing he's ever done.
Yeah, so I mean, he's the best, and McDavid, if he ever gets to a Cup final, which I doubt with Edmonton, but he's a phenomenal player. So I would put Crosby first and McDavid second, but then. Of the rest of the list, I mean, the problem is it's really tough, Russ, to evaluate Bedard based on preseason games. The hoopla and the promise, sure, but until I see it, I can't judge it.
Well, I mean, I've seen enough of them that I could judge it against the field, and I think against that field, I still think he's not McDavid. McDavid's still number 1 in that field. I think that while Matthews had that amazing first game, he's not even number 2 in that field.
No.
Yeah, I don't think he's there.
And Hughes took a little while. So I think he is right sandwiched around Crosby and the next guy, whoever you want is the next guy. I think that's like an A and a B. And I think that's where Bedard is. And it's hard. It's not hard to project him being successful in the NHL. It's not. What's hard to do is to say the kind of impact he's going to have based on his team and all of those things, because, Crosby had a major impact and more than really anybody other than McDavid for a whole franchise. Major impact. Yeah, Bedard probably will do that too.
Well,
probably will take long.
My question is is what is more valuable? Is it playmaking or is it goal scoring? Because
goal scoring is always more valuable when you get a guy who could do both. Then it's just
I think he is going to be a goal scorer over a playmaker.
No, what I'm saying is like, okay, of this current group, Crosby is a great playmaker and a great goal scorer. So is McDavid. Matthews is a great goal scorer, but he's a very good playmaker.
Right.
McKinnon, I think is lesser than
split down the
middle. And Hughes, I think, is a much better playmaker than goal scorer, but he's a good goal scorer.
Right.
So I put Matthews right smack dab in the middle. I really can't categorize where Bedard is. I mean, okay, I look at his junior stats and they're phenomenal. Right. I need to see something in the NHL.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously it's way early, Mike. I agree.
No, that's fine. I mean, that's totally reasonable. I'm just saying I've seen enough of him to see where he's still expected to be more of a goal scorer, but I do think he's going to be one of those guys that if he has 50 goals, he's got like 50 or 60 assists. That's just the way it's going to be.
Well, there's
a lot of different ways to look at superstars, right? Like the one thing you can say is, okay, of those players I just mentioned, of all five of the five players, including McKinnon, who makes their teammates better? Crosby, right? Crosby makes his teammates better.
Yes.
That's unquestionable, right?
Okay.
Bedard has potential to be the second best attack.
Hold on. Crosby makes his teammates better, but remember, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, Crosby, with certain players, it doesn't fit. He had to have Pascal. His best line mates were Pascal Dupuis and Chris Kunitz. Whenever they put him with a Ginla or other guys, it didn't work. Now Gensel and Rust, it works. But he's quirky because he doesn't work with other star players. I think he has to have the puck and he has to distribute it. So with McDavid, I think he makes anybody better. I mean, he makes
Bedard does too.
Yeah, he makes Zach Hyman into a 35 to 40 goal scorer, which
he makes him better in different ways. You know, like McDavid's speed and everything just opens space up for everybody. Like that's a big thing, right? Like his speed opens up space. So and he's a great passer too, but he's really more about the show that he is, and that he just draws attention away all the time. And Crosby actually does, I think, the more team type stuff in general, even if his line mates aren't there, it's just he's more team oriented.
He will fight you too.
He'll fight you too, and he's all about like he's a Pittsburgh Penguin diehard. Like that's where he is. Bedard, the player I talked to, I wish I could. He just doesn't want to be. He doesn't want to embarrass Bedard, but anyway, the player I talked to said that he really felt like Bedard is afraid to be like this dominating goal scorer right off the bat. And like show people up. Like he thinks part of the passing thing with him is really in his mind because he sees that he doesn't practice. He's like, and he's just not taking some of those shots. He's passing off some of those shots right now.
I think that may be true. I think there may be some of that, but that's going to wear off quick.
Yeah, I mean, you can see Bedard's personality is a little bit more like Crosby in that way.
Yeah.
Now, where Matthews and McDavid both have that like want to score as many goals as possible thing in their heads. Like, and that doesn't mean they're not good playmakers too, but they have that sniper.
Matthews is a finisher. So is McDavid.
They're finisher and they're sniper. They're sniper mentality. You know what I mean? That's their mentality is.
Bedard does not. Bedard likes the spotlight though, so trust me.
He'll get there. Yeah.
These games where he does ramp it up. I think right now in preseason, that's sort of the way he's doing it in preseason.
Yeah, right. And I think that's why it's kind of unbelievably. I mean, it's 5 points in 3 games. It's preseason points, but at the end of the day, the fact that there's 4 of those are assists and stuff like that, where we all think he's going to be, if we think he's going to be like a 100-point scorer, just say he's going to be like a 60.
Oh, he'll be that in his career every year, but not.
But I would say 60. I would expect 60% goals, 40%, 60% goals, 40% assists from him. Perhaps that would be like where I would think he would fall into that world, 60-40, maybe or more. Do you think more 50-50? 50?
No, I think it's more like 50, 60, 50, 65 because. I think he is going to realize that if he's scoring all the goals, he's not getting the most out of his line mates. And I think that's what happens with players like that. I think some of these players could score more goals if they really wanted to, but the idea is to make your line better too.
Right. And there's a part of him watching him play that I have to say annoys the freaking daylights out of me. And what annoys the freaking daylights out of me is, the Blackhawks had Patrick Kane all those years, and now they got him. And it's like, and I'm not just saying like the fan in me is like, this just is not fair. Like Patrick Kane was so, and he's one of the best players of all time in my mind. Patrick Kane is, and for him to this team to go from 88 to 98 with a player who's even better than Patrick Kane probably is like just pretty crazy insane. And that people in Chicago just like, holy cow. Just like I felt the same way with Crosby, after Mario in Pittsburgh. I felt that way too.
Yeah,
So
I get it. I mean, I do. I would say this though, out of all of them, I think actually Bedard's in the best condition of all of them. And
that's interesting. Yeah.
To start his career, Crosby exceeded everybody in conditioning over time, because every year Crosby got bigger, faster, stronger, faster, bigger. Like he did everything.
It was also in the era, right, of where all these players are in better condition. Russ.
Well, okay.
Players coming up in his age group are better in
But
condition.
McDavid's not that old. Like he was in that era too, where
he had to, Russ, after the concussion issues. He had to get in like uber shape to be able to survive, because he was getting, like, who was it, David Steckel that mowed him down in that game. I mean, he was a target for a while, and now I think people, in the last few years, you go into the corner with Sidney Crosby, you're taking your life into your hands. He doesn't mess. He doesn't mess around. So, I think he's finally.
He's got a dirty side too.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Wayne Gretzky didn't have a dirty side. Crosby does.
No, he relied on the referees to. No, never mind.
Oh,
I have a question here from Puck Craze Model from Mike. I'm not going to bring it up yet, because I know Mike's a fan of my friend Puck Craze Model, but I'm going to bring it. It's a teaser for the end of the show. We're going to end the show with
I'm a red-blooded male, so.
You're a fan of Puck Craze Model, one of my wife's best friends.
Male, and the book said I could not fail, but could continue.
Who was follow her on Twitter if you want to. Puck Craze Model. She's nuts. Anyway, all right, so let's talk a little bit about.
I was quoting.
What else do you have, Mike? Something else you want to go somewhere first, or do you have anything else first, or I can go and keep going for a bit?
No, we can go.
Okay. On. All right. I don't know if you saw Foot was dropped, released. Cal Foot.
No, just sent down.
Oh, just sent down. Cal Foot was sent down, right? Sorry, sent down. I was a little surprised by this. We're at a point where we can say that Cal Foot is a disappointment a little bit.
I mean, Russ, he's. He's moved on. Well, remember the Foot brothers. He's moved on from Tampa. Tampa. I don't know if they saw a future in him, but
I think it's the foot speed. The foot speed, yes. No lack of a pun, is exactly the reason.
Exactly. Yeah, that is a good pun.
But
he was pretty highly. He
was, but again, that's sometimes you could have all like 3 of the 4 things. Like Matthew Strome has 3 of the 4 things you need to be an NHLer, but he just could never get to NHL speed. In the AHL, Matthew Strome's great.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean.
Yeah. That's true. Matthew Strome was. Well, there is that thing, like if you, and that's just what we don't always understand. It's not like, just because you're the best in the AHL doesn't mean you're going to be the best in the NHL. There are really different leagues, and sometimes guys who come into the AHL that aren't the greatest, and they don't have the greatest AHL careers, but they just kill it in the AHL. So I do have a list of players that we can go quickly.
Esmer has a point. Yes, he had to compete with Luke Hughes, Kevin Ball, and Simone Nemec. But the thing is, if Cal Foot was better than what he turned out to be, they would have gotten rid of Severson a year earlier.
Okay, yeah, they would have gotten rid of Severson a year earlier. You're right about that. Because they were trying to get rid of Severson. I agree with that. Now, you know what's in here is this.
You're frozen there, Rack.
Cal Foot was put on waivers. Okay, I was waivers. Other players that were put on waivers today, I have a bunch of other ones too. But I think that's pretty interesting. Cal Foot on waivers. That's a little different than sending him to the AHL. Like he's a guy
he's going to
take a shot at.
He's going to go to the AHL. He's going to go to the AHL if he clears. I mean, the thing is, the interesting thing
clears, right? But I'm not saying that you would. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you're breaking up there. No, the interesting thing over the last few days are players that have been placed on waivers early that if they had waited until later, maybe they would have cleared because there's that rush the weekend before. Like Jacob Bernard Docker for Ottawa, he was put on waivers. He cleared, but I'm sorry, Russ. The first round, what's his name? That got claimed by Anaheim for Lassie Thompson.
Oh, Lassie Thompson. Yeah. Okay. So here's the difference with all of them, right? So, like we said, Foot, I don't think ever got, foot speed up to point. Bernard Docker, kind of the same thing, but also there was a thought there'd be some offense in his game, and the offense really never came through. Then they tried to make him a defensive defenseman, and that really wasn't his strength. So then he's kind of like that guy who's in no man's land. And Lassie Thompson was always sort of one-dimensional, but he has a great shot. Like, this guy has a bomb of a shot, and if you want to use him on your power play, like, I get it. I don't think so too.
Sorry, I changed internet connection there for a second.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Because it was freezing up.
Another one on waivers though, that I think someone should take a shot at is Robert Hagg. Like, Robert Hagg's on waivers too, and I don't know. I personally, he was a Flyer, obviously, and he was a Sabre for a while, right?
Yeah.
And he's with the Ducks right now.
Right.
But Robert Hagg is like one of the best hitting defensemen in the league. Like, he will punish you. Isn't Robert Hagg an interesting replacement for like Radko Gudas in Florida? If you're
he was in Florida for a while. He was depth there.
He was, but I think that if you want to get somebody else who's going to hit and make people nervous, Robert Hagg is kind of be your guy. I mean, I think I'm surprised that he hasn't had a better career. Honestly, I really kind of
Hagg.
Yeah.
The thing with Hagg is, if you remember at the very beginning, he was thought to be more of an offensive defenseman. He was pretty good on the power play. Then they turned him into a defensive defenseman and a physical guy, and he bulked up, and that was good for a while. But I think the problem was, again, with a lot of these guys, Philip Myers is another one, they just can't play at NHL speed. And I think you might be right. I mean, but I think that. But I mean, you have to think though, like, when he's one of the top 5 hitters every year, that he is playing at NHL speed. Like, to be able to hit like that. Well, okay, so is Mark Stahl at NHL speed, or is he just at this point a shot blocker?
Well, he's smart, right? There's NHL speed, and then there's smart, right? There's intelligence.
Right.
If you're going to hit people like that, and you don't have the speed, you got to do it in a smart way.
Mark Stahl has figured out the other stuff to stay in the league. Someone like Robert Hagg hasn't been able to.
Yeah. I would take I think I wouldn't be shocked if like Philly even thought about reclaiming him, to be honest. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I know that we're fans.
Through this, Philly's got Sean Walker, they've got Mark Stahl, they've got Nick Seeler, and as a result, Zamula only really because of contract, because they don't want to put him on waivers. Although he's been good, I would say he's probably good enough. Is going to stay on the NHL roster. Otherwise, everybody's gotten sent back to Lehigh, and now you want to add another guy? No, you can't do it.
Well, the thing that is, I think, the most interesting when it comes to.
I'm going to restart my little.
Okay. Go ahead. Just log off and log back in. Whatever you have to do. Because it's breaking up.
I'm trying to do that. I don't know if I can do that right now.
Okay. Well, we'll cover while you're doing that. Okay. So, Russ, I think the most interesting thing that we're going to be tracking over the next week, especially Sunday and Monday. I think Monday is the day that all the teams have to be cap compliant and get down to 23 or less.
Right.
Is the goaltending situation. And I just wrote something about the Sabres, because the Sabres, apparently they look as if they're going to carry all 3 goalies. That means Levi, obviously, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, and Eric Comrie. The reason that they're going to do it now, they say, well, I mean, I think we like all 3 of the goaltenders.
Yeah.
Yada yada yada. I mean, that's what they're saying. I'll believe, whatever. It's because of the I call it the Vasilevsky effect.
Oh, it is.
Because if you look right now, I mean, Tampa, Vasilevsky is going to be out for 2.5 to 3 months, optimistically.
Right.
And, who knows what Vasilevsky comes back after back surgery. But these teams don't want to serve up a stopgap replacement that a good team, which they still are, can play in front of for 2 months and stay in a playoff position, especially teams in their own division. If it's, Florida has got Bobrovsky, they've got Spencer Knight, and they've got Anthony Stolarz. Now, Anthony Stolarz is not a superstar, but Florida might keep Anthony Stolarz on their 23-man roster because they don't want to serve him up to Tampa Bay.
I think all these teams are doing it because they don't want it. The Flyers are in the same spot. They have Felix Sandstrom, and maybe they'll try and sneak him through the last day. But if they don't, it's because they don't want Tampa to get him. And so, like Cal Peterson got put through, and of course he wasn't taken because nobody wants that salary, right?
$5 million. But here, I will predict, unless something happens in the next few days that prevents this from happening. I predict the starting goaltender for the Tampa Bay Lightning on opening night will probably be Martin Jones, because the Maple Leafs cannot sneak. They cannot carry 3 goaltenders. They don't have the cap space. They will put Martin Jones on waivers to try to send him down to the American Hockey League, and he'll get claimed. He'll get claimed by Colorado, or he'll get claimed by Tampa Bay because France. Yeah, it's gonna happen.
I hate teams carrying 3 goalies because it takes away opportunity. It really, for younger players, it just
it does. Right. I just think that would be insane. Like, if the starting goalie for Tampa was Martin Jones, like I really think that would be.
Well, I mean, what other right now? Okay,
where's Brian Elliott? Did I miss this?
Right now, right this second, the Tampa Bay goaltending tandem going into the season is Jonas Johansson and Matt Tompkins. That's what it is. Martin Jones is an upgrade.
I'm not saying he isn't. Did I miss what happened to Brian Elliott? I'm sorry about that. Brian
Elliott's not under contract.
He's a free agent.
He's a free agent.
See, if I'm Tampa, that's an easy signing. Go get Brian Elliott. Like,
we don't know if he's been working out. Like,
yeah, he had an under 900 save percentage last year with their roster without.
Yeah, but I just would trust him more than any of those other goalies you're talking about. Just I don't know. Now, there's another rumor I wanted to talk about for a second that's been out there, and that is that the Flyers we talked about the Morgan Frost for Pinto and Joseph trade rumor, right?
Yeah.
The rumor is about that is that the Flyers also wanted a first round draft pick in that deal. So it was Frost for Pinto, Joseph, and a first rounder. Basically, the Flyers taking that first rounder to take the Joseph money, right? That was the idea.
Yeah.
So, do you do that, Russ? Do you make that trade? We talked about like you wouldn't make the trade if that wasn't about, but you got a first round draft pick. Do you take that trade?
No.
I don't either. But
Frost is my second line center. Why am I doing that?
I mean, it's
took me 5 years to develop that next guy into maybe
that
second line center.
That deal would have been so dumb. I mean, first of all, I talked to somebody in Ottawa, and the rumor in Ottawa was that first it was Lassie Thompson they were trying to peddle off to get rid of Joseph's contract. That nobody was interested, and then they placed him on waivers. The other name that was out there regarding the Flyers was Tyler Boucher. And I don't know, I mean, if I'm Briere, I would rather have a future first round pick than Tyler Boucher, because I don't know whether Tyler Boucher is ever going to be a good NHL player. I mean, I hope for the kid that he is, but I mean, Russ is, he
could be an NHL regular on a bottom 6 role. Right. I don't think he's going to be a big scorer. He's definitely going to be a nasty guy to play against. Yeah, is that worth doing that for? I'd say no.
But this whole thing is with Pinto, it has collapsed in the sense because we saw it this morning. Josh Norris, who was penciled in as their number 2 center behind Stützle, he's had a setback in his is it shoulder? I think it was his shoulder injury.
I think it was.
Yeah, shoulder injury. So they're between a rock and a hard place. They need to sign Pinto. They need to sign him and put him in as their number 2 center until Norris is ready to come back. And they can't because they don't have the cap space. So they're gonna have to give up that first round pick or something valuable to clear Joseph's contract. And that was a bad contract. Not to say Joseph is a bad player, but they signed him to a 4-year deal after, I think, 13 games. It made absolutely no sense.
Yeah. I mean, they've taken a lot of gambles like that and won. I mean, this is a gamble they took and lost. I mean, they have taken a lot of gambles on contracts like that and won. This is.
If they miss the playoffs, Pierre Dorian gets fired 2 seconds after the season is over with.
I think he's probably going to lose his job anyhow, so I don't know if it's fair to say that. I just think because when everything kicks in with ownership, he would be gone anyhow. So I just
it's already kicked in. But the thing, I mean,
no, I know, but it happened in season. Like it's hard to.
But they hired Staios as their president of hockey operations. He's the heir apparent in terms of a general manager. So one misstep or one, they have a 9-game losing streak. You could see DJ Smith and Dorian fired.
That's possible. Right. Heck, I do have a goalie for you.
Okay.
Thomas Greiss has no contract.
Call up Edmonton, see if Jack Campbell. Oh, excuse me.
So funny, I forgot to laugh, Russ.
Well, you like Thomas Greiss.
I love Thomas Greiss. I think I don't love him. I think he's a good backup goalie.
I likes him more than Mrs. Greiss.
I must have missed that one, Mike. I don't know quite what that means. So anyway, you guys can text me and let me know. I think that. Man, you kind of threw me for a loop there, Mike. To say, all right, I'm gonna ask my puck craze model question for you. Then
go ahead.
Here it is. Would you trade Austin Matthews?
No.
Hold on. I just lost it for a second. Where is it? Shoot. Here it is. Okay. Would you trade Austin Matthews and Morgan Riley for Connor McDavid and Darnell Nurse?
No.
You would not.
No. Because Connor McDavid's going to end up in Toronto in 3 years anyway. So why would I trade Austin Matthews for him?
That's 3 years, Mike.
Yeah, that's 3 years from now.
I know.
I would make the trade.
No.
You would make that trade, right, Russ?
I would not. I would not make that trade.
Ooh, that's a really hard one to say you wouldn't make. I mean, it's
I wouldn't make it. I'm giving you. I
get it, but real reasons. I mean, you're just basing us on the fact that they can have both McDavid and Matthews.
Right.
But that's a hope.
I think McDavid is a better individual player, but first of all, I mean, okay, we're talking about a deal that can't happen because of no move clauses.
Right, I know, but
you're just talking about like in the.
She's just asking theoretically. She lives in Red Deer. She's an Oilers fan, so I'm just like throwing this out. So like, this is possible, that. I know most people who live at Red Deer are Flames fans.
No, I mean because you have to also consider that trading Austin Matthews, the first Hart Trophy winner since Teeter Kennedy, who is the all-time single season goal scorer in Leaf history, and Morgan Riley, who's going to break Boreas Salming's records for points games. If you traded them, you'd be ripping the heart out of that organization. So I don't.
What are we ripping the heart out of? They haven't been terribly successful.
They won one round.
Well, what the hell has Edmonton won?
They're more successful than the Leafs.
They are.
Well, come here. Okay, whatever.
I mean, they
haven't gone further than the Leafs.
They won
in the Western Conference. Yeah.
Oh, so now it matters because they're in the West.
It's a weaker conference.
Oh my God, Mike!
But whatever. I'm just saying. I would not do that deal.
Okay, no, that's
most people in the chat room. Most people in the chat room say the Oilers would never do that. Toronto would.
Right. That's true, unless they knew that McDavid wanted to go, and at least they're getting cost certainty out of Matthews.
McDavid is from Toronto, so of course the Leafs would want to do that. But that's why I'm saying it's like I think that eventually he's going to be in Toronto down the line anyway, so I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, you can't count on that in life, though.
I'm not counting on it. It's just my thought.
No, I know. That's what's going to happen in 3 years. I would make the trade.
I could be dead in 3 years. Hopefully not. But
well, let's not go there, Mike. I mean,
but yeah,
I just think. I mean, now would you trade Mitch Marner instead of Matthews in that deal
for McDavid?
Marner and Riley for McDavid and Nurse.
Yes.
You would make that trade.
Yes.
Yeah, that Edmonton's not doing that trade.
And I don't think Edmonton's doing either trade. I think that
they definitely aren't doing that one.
No, I don't think they're definitely doing that one either. I think it is interesting to wonder how about we're going to talk a lot more about the Leafs, of course, probably at some point this season.
Hopefully, Mike will come back. If he doesn't come back,
I think I just killed him with that.
That's what I'm saying. That would be bad.
I think I really took him down. Let's talk about Stamkos for a second. Someone brought up, and Tony Soprano brought it up in this chat room, Stamkos is UFA. We talked about it a little bit before. You guys think it's atrocious what they're doing for Stamkos?
Sorry,
Stamkos.
water right down the wrong pipe. Sorry.
Yeah, it is atrocious.
Would Stamkos be a good Florida Panther?
He wouldn't do it.
No.
He wouldn't do it.
No,
he's okay. This is the thing. He is not. It's either he's not going to go to Florida because that would be a stab in the heart to Tampa. Now the thing is, they're stabbing him in the back with they're doing the same. They're leading him down the road that they led Killorn down, that they led Palat down. Think, okay, he's getting old. We want him to take the deal that we want him to take, and if he doesn't, then we're then c'est la vie. I don't know if it would be as much, and I don't think this is going to happen, but I don't think it would be as much of a stab in the back for Stamkos to go to Toronto or Buffalo or Detroit, who those are three teams that were interested in him 8 years ago or 7 years ago.
Some of the chat heard this too, and I've heard Dallas is one of those teams that is.
I don't even think it's that team either. I think
Boston.
No, I don't think it's that team either. I think it's the Rangers because they're the ones that tried to trade for him when he was slumping in Tampa. They got really close to a trade. Eck probably knows that because
they did. No, they got incredibly close to trade.
Right. And I think now is like when guys always go to New York, like when they get to the certain age and they still have something left in the tank. And I think that's where Steve Stamkos.
Hockey players retire to New York and people retire to Florida.
Right.
But
Glenn Saban would call him, even though he's just an advisor, and he'd say, "Hey, Steve, how's it going? Remember we talked all these years ago? Well, let's make it happen."
I mean, Stamkos. Yeah, I mean, as a Ranger,
he still scored 30 goals.
As a Ranger, Russ, you're way more excited than that than you were Patrick Kane.
Well, only because he could still score 30 goals. Patrick Kane was an injured guy on the ice, and I could see it. So he wasn't Patrick Kane.
Right.
Patrick Kane was just some other guy.
Yeah.
That's the reason that I was like that, because I could see he was some other guy. Stamkos still has his shot.
I mean, in the end, I still remember to this day, I'm driving up the QEW to go to the Puck Talks when in 2015 when it was announced. It was the day of the Weber for Superman deal, and then right after that, Bill Meltzer calls me on my phone and tells me that Stamkos is staying in Tampa and he's signing an 8-year deal for $8.5 million, which was $5 million less than the deal that the Leafs offered him, because the Leafs brought the mayor of Toronto and the head of Canadian. They did all the things wrong that they did right a couple years later with Tavares.
They should have thrown in the snow tires. They know how important snow tires are to Canadians.
Yeah,
but do it.
But studs
are the prime ministership of Canada. I mean, that would have been the thought. Like, if they'd done that.
Studs are illegal in the U.S., Russ. No, but yeah, no.
If they made him the prime minister of Canada, he probably would have considered it.
But okay, more than anything, the fact that Stamkos, they were looking for him to be like the savior of a franchise that had finished last, that was an absolute disgrace for a number of years. That's not the Leaf team now, and he does have very close friends on that team. So now the thing is like, I don't know whether I think the Leafs after this year are going to be spending their money on defensemen, because their defense is the area that has been needed to be addressed for years. That's why I think Nylander is going to be gone after this year, either by trade or just by walking in free agency. I'd be shocked if he signed to an extension, because
he could get traded before the season still, Mike. I think.
I don't think there's enough cap space.
Yeah, I mean, unless one team out there has sort of shaken loose and offered the Leafs something that they need in that deal, because right now everybody who has looked at him playing center believes he's out of place, that he doesn't fit at center. He's a top 6 winger. He's a scorer. He's not a center. He played center.
Winger, but I've heard if you get an injury to a top 3 player on certain teams, that player will be on LTIR the rest of the season, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Nylander's going to be the place to go, and that's what people are going to look at. And that could happen anytime. I mean, that could happen preseason. That could happen anytime. Right. So
right. But the problem is that then you have to pay the piper. Then you have to give the Leafs something that they need to make that deal. And what they need and what Treliving clearly I think is good over the next 12 months is going to be addressed is the blue line. If you give them a young blue liner, somebody with a lot of promise in a deal for Nylander, I think they do that deal. But I don't think
that deal. Very few teams are willing to trade that.
Right. That's the whole point. That's the whole point.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing I wanted to bring up, Mike, is so Patrick Kane. Different rumors have been flying around about him. Of course, the whole offseason, what's going to happen with him. I still am not 100% sure he doesn't end up with the Rangers. To be honest, I've heard that at like a ridiculously low price, but he just wants to play there, and he wants to he's the kind of guy who wants to redeem himself because he doesn't,
If he's going to go to a contender, he's going to have to take a veteran minimum deal.
Oh, yeah, he's not about the money at all. He's really, from what I've been told, he's really about his reputation means a lot to him. His stature as far as hockey players, one of the greatest American hockey players means a lot to him. Mm-hmm. These things matter to him. So the Rangers thing was a dark.
He got $1.5 million on the cap. That's what he'll get.
Right, but that's the reason. That's the reason why a couple of weeks ago it came out. That's the reason why the Detroit rumors and because DeBrincat's there, the Buffalo rumors because he's here. They didn't make any sense. And I think Buffalo was mixed in there because they got almost $9 million.
Yes, it says Toronto's in on him.
Yes. Especially
he already knows he's going to miss a few months of the season. He can't start the season.
And especially, put two and two together here. If they trade, there we go. If they trade Nylander, who's a good replacement for Nylander? Right there.
No, for sure.
But they're not trading Nylander.
Well,
they're going to have to trade Nylander at some point.
Still there.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to sign with them again, and I think that they know that, and I think that that's a problem right now for them.
Right.
I think
they're just going to walk him into the tunnel, and
they could. They really could, and they're not because the problem is that everybody knows that they have to trade him, and the prices are
that's fine. But what I'm saying, Nick, is they're not going to make the playoffs without him, and I don't think there's a trade that you could make. Oh, if you take Nylander out of the lineup, you're going to make the playoffs. That team, Mike.
Depending on what you get.
No. I'm saying I don't know what you think you're getting back in return now, but even at the deadline, it's going to be iffy that's going to help you go any further in the playoffs. All you're doing is retaining the asset. Yep. I think they're going to let the asset walk if that's where it goes. I do.
Yeah, they'll take the cap space, which is valuable to them, obviously. So, they get the cap space. They don't get a player. They may trade the rights to somebody at some point for something, but I don't think it's going to be anything crazy.
Yeah, dumb. It's dumb.
Last question I have for you guys before we get out of here is this. This is a little bit old news, but I don't know if you guys have discussed it or not, but I thought it was interesting because I kept wanting to bring it up. So the Chicago Blackhawks aren't having a captain, apparently out of respect for Jonathan Toews, is what they've been saying. That's a weird thing to say. To me, that's not.
They just don't want to give it to Bedard this year. They'll wait till next year.
I think that's fine, but to say out of respect for Jonathan Toews, is that really a precedent that NHL teams should start doing? To me, that's a weird place to go. There's no reason for them to go there, I don't think. And I know they want to just,
do what they want,
Yeah, and I guess, hey, it's just throwing Toews a bone, I guess, because they weren't going to have a captain anyway. I agree with that, Russ. I don't think they were going to have a captain anyway. But the point is that to come out and make it blatant that we're not having a captain because we're respecting Jonathan Toews, I don't know. I think I love Jonathan Toews. He's a great guy, great player, and all that stuff.
I don't know. All I know is when the Rangers traded Messier, Brian Leetch was the captain.
Yeah. Because he was a natural captain. He was a natural place person to take that role.
He was done in a year.
Right, but he was such a leader. It was obvious. There's no
okay, if they didn't.
Seth Jones is maybe the best captain character they have on Chicago right now. Perhaps I don't know.
Yeah, no. Okay, if they wanted, the thing is, if they wanted to do a transitional captain until Bedard is a little older, you could have made Nick Foligno or one of the veterans that they brought in the captain. But the thing is that doesn't, sometimes that doesn't work. At Toronto back in the day, they brought in Rob Ramage and made him captain. Buffalo brought in Craig Rivet and made him captain. You want somebody who's been there. And right now, Seth Jones is basically, other than maybe a couple other players, is the only player that's been there. And I think they want I think they want to make Bedard captain, but not now. So I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't know. I don't like. First of all, I always think you should have a captain, and I don't think you should do this whole thing about Bedard.
Actually, Messier was a free agent. I forget that. I was looking it up. I'm like, wait, they didn't trade him. But actually, on this day in history, Messier was traded to the Rangers.
Oh, there you go.
That was in my head.
Very big day. So I think but I think that you always need. I think you should always have a captain. I think not having a captain is like saying that you're not really a team or something like that. Like to me, it feels like hockey captaincy is such a big thing. I don't like the idea
it's not as big a thing anymore. That's what we're finding out. Because
that's what I agree with that, and I do. There's a lot about the captain thing that in hockey that doesn't make sense. There's a lot of your logical aspects to it. One of them is that, I've always said, like, so when the general manager gets fired, the coach usually goes with him, and everybody says, okay, the coach is going to Dude going to bring in his own coach. Well, the coach gets fired. The coach should be the one who names the captain, but the captain remains the same when a new coach comes in. That to me is always an
Flyers have no captain.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I don't love it. I think that why not give it to like somebody like Couturier's obviously going to be hurt, but if he's healthy, if he's healthy, he's an obvious captain, right? There's like no question.
Yeah, if he's healthy, he would be the captain. Then we thought Lawton would be the captain, and honestly, I don't know if John Tortorella is going to name a captain.
And what is that? That to me is more of a statement. I'm against Tortorella for something like that. Like to me, that's more of a statement about Tortorella than it is about the Flyers.
Yeah. Well, I think it's about his satisfaction with who he's going to pick as a captain and sort of like relay his message. I think that's
you don't have anybody on that team that has character. Like come on, like Farabee is
Mark Stahl. Mark Stahl will be the captain.
Mark Stahl, yeah, but he's not. He's on
no, he wouldn't.
I know. I'm just joking.
But I think that obviously, he's got the pedigree. You're right, but I think that Farabee's definitely a captain type player. Like down the line, he could be a captain somewhere. Lawton
he hasn't done enough for Torts for him to do that. Lawton's done everything Torts has wanted, so I think he's a logical guy. But Couturier's there, and if Couturier turns back into Couturier, he would have been the captain anyhow, so he can't say no.
So do you think this is about waiting for Couturier to be healthy?
Yeah.
I was going to say Cam Atkinson could be the captain, but you don't need the captain in the press box half the year.
Well, and even if he plays the whole year, he'll be traded by the deadline, and
Yeah, so I think the captain thing is weird. I don't know whatever you guys think about. Maybe throw it in the comments of our video here. It's what you guys think about the captain thing. I think you need to find a captain. I think that giving the captaincy to somebody matters.
I think it does. It's just like the way I've seen some organizations doing it recently. I'm not sure that has the same meaning.
Nick Delorier, captain.
Like if I'm Chicago, I go to Seth Jones and I say, listen, we think Bedard could be the captain in a couple of years, obviously, but we don't know that yet. And, and we really appreciate what he came there and signed a long-term deal in a team that really ended up going backwards right away. But he trusted, he could have gone to lots of places, Seth Jones, but he went to Chicago. I would have rewarded him and said, thank you for thanking him.
Talked him out of it. He's not doing it. That's like saying, Russ, we thought you could be the president, but why don't you be the vice president? And I'm going to be like, no, because you thought I could be that, but now you're offering me this as a door prize. No,
Russ, there's a phone call here. They want you to be Speaker of the House.
Yeah, there you go. I really thought I liked Austin Matthews is not the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? He should be. Mike's on the phone. I can say that, but he probably should be. But Tavares is a captain, obviously through and through, so they gave it to him. It wasn't they gave it to Tavares saying they're going to take it. They didn't give it to Tavares saying they're going to take it away from him and give it to Matthews.
Not everybody's wants to be a captain these days.
And that's a great point, Russ. I always thought that of Eric Lindros. I used to say, there's a guy who did not want to be captain.
Right.
I don't think Matthews has a problem with Tavares being the captain because let's just say this: I think Tavares is going to sign an extension after his deal is over with, and I don't think there's going to be a transfer of the captain. If there's ever a transfer of the captaincy, it's not going to Matthews; it's going to Morgan Riley. He's the leader in that locker room.
That's interesting, but at the same time, Matthews.
I can see that happening.
Matthews has been. Maybe Matthews doesn't want it. I'm sure Matthews is a class guy. He's not going to say Tavares does. He's not going to say Tavares doesn't deserve it. Obviously, Tavares deserves that captaincy, right? He's that guy. He's a captain, but in a way, I mean, Matthews is the best player on the team, and
yeah, but the best player on the team doesn't have to be the captain. I mean, Jack Eichel was the best player on the Sabres. He did not have to be the captain, and I think it ill-served him to be captain of the Sabres.
It does hurt players. I fully believe it hurt Claude Giroux to be captain of the Flyers. I really do. I still feel that way about it. I don't think he wanted to be captain. Giroux, if it was important to Giroux to be captain, he wanted to be captain, but I don't think that he was the captain type of player that was going to help, where he does so much by himself without having a C on his shirt. That giving him the C on his shirt actually took him in the opposite direction than he had to go. I felt.
Sometimes it weighs him down. There's no question.
Yeah, and I feel that was definitely the case. So all right, that's all the time we have for today, folks. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We'll be back again tomorrow. We'll talk to you. Right? No, wrong. Tomorrow's Thursday.
Friday.
We're back in Friday. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. We will talk to you on Friday. Enjoy the games.